Investigation of the death of Susana Morales?
Yes, I was.
And what did you do on February 13th of 2023?
On February 13th, 2023, around mid-morning, around 10 a.m., myself and Corporal Garrick were asked by Corporal Carter to go down to the apartment complex where Mr. Bryant lived and try to make contact with him.
So kind of tell us a little bit about, if you know, between the 7th, when you recovered the firearm that you just testified about, and the 13th, what transpired that identified Mr. Bryant as somebody that you wanted to talk to?
So we knew when we found the firearm, we had a uniform officer run the serial number through our dispatch, and we got a return that it was stolen through our own department. So we conducted research on that case number and learned that Mr. Bryant was the one who filed that report of a stolen firearm. So that kind of rose our suspicion as to why his firearm was out there. And then from there, we know we needed to talk to him.
Okay. At the time, you said that you went with Corporal Gorig.
Yes, sir.
Down there, and describe for us, I guess, that the lead up to going down there.
So the lead up to going down there, we had some plainclothes of our gang investigators. They have plain cars that kind of blend in more than a police car would. So we had them in the area, looking for Mr. Bryant, and myself and Corporal Garrick went in my CID car, which was a unmarked maroon Ford Taurus. It does have police lights, but no police marking on the outside. As we were pulling through the complex, we saw Mr. Bryant walking out of his apartment, and we hopped out and started talking to him.
I'm going to show you what I have marked as State's Exhibit number 29. I'm going to show it to Ms. Drake first. And before I show it to you, let me ask you, even though you were in a homicide role at that time as a detective in the homicide unit, were you equipped or issued a body-worn camera?
Yes, sir.
All right. And the body-worn camera that you have, were you wearing it that day, February 13th, 2023, whenever you encountered the defendant?
Yes, I was.
Did you have it activated?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 29. Do you recognize State's Exhibit 29?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
It has my initials and my badge number on it.
Have you reviewed the contents of that disc?
Yes, sir.
And what is on it?
It's my body-worn camera and my interaction with Mr. Bryant that day.
Is the video on there of your body-worn camera footage from the interaction you just described, is it a true and accurate copy of the video and an accurate depiction of your encounter with the defendant on February 13th of 2023?
Yes, sir.
Judge, I move to admit State's Exhibit number 29 into evidence.
No objection.
State's Exhibit 9 is admitted without objection.
Before we watch that, Sergeant, just tell us, I guess, describe, once you encountered him at his apartment complex, what transpired?
So we began talking to him, and I introduced myself. We told him why we were in the complex. We were working the Miss Morales case, and we were told he was the courtesy officer of the complex and that he might be able to help us.
Okay. Now, at some point, did you ask the defendant to come with you to the Gwinnett County Police Department headquarters for an interview?
Yes, we did.
At that time, was he under arrest or detained? And I say detained, I use the legal term detained, but placed into handcuffs by you or Corporal Gorig?
No, sir.
Did, in fact, the defendant come with you to Gwinnett County Police Department headquarters?
Yes, he voluntarily came up and rode in the front seat.
Okay, so describe that. Did he ride in the vehicle, your police-issued vehicle?
Yes, sir. So I offered to drive Mr. Bryant up to our headquarters. He said he had to work later that evening, and I told him I'd give him a ride up to our headquarters and back, if need be. And I said, you can sit in the front seat. Per our policy, our unmarked police cars don't have cages in them, so our policy is you sit anybody you're transporting in the front seat, and the secondary officer sits behind them while you drive.
Okay. So how many? This may be broader than simply your time in the homicide unit, but have you ever conducted interviews or spoken with individuals accused of crimes?
Yes, sir.
How many different interviews of defendants do you think that you've done?
Hundreds, if not up to the thousands.
Okay. And I assume that might be the answer, but I want to ask specifically, in your experience as a police department officer interviewing suspects, are you aware of or do you look for any signs that somebody might be exhibiting that would display nervousness?
Yes, sir.
All right. What kind of things do you look for?
So the obvious is handshaking. You know, in your hand, you're nervous about something, your hands kind of uncontrollably shake. Breathing, where you're almost hyperventilating yourself while you're talking with law enforcement. And then also, I've seen in my experience, sometimes suspects will take naps during an interview or a lull in an interview.
And explain that. What's
So
if it's so common, explain to me, I guess, a little bit about the why that happens.
Yeah, so in my experience talking with persons of interest or suspects, especially, you know, either if they confess or not, or whatever their involvement may be in a crime, when they are confronted by police or they're in a setting to where they feel like they may be caught, it's kind of a relief for them. They're no longer running, they're no longer hiding, and so it's a big weight lifted off their shoulders, and all that adrenaline is just dumped, and they get tired and they take a nap.
In this particular instance, when you picked up the defendant, did you observe any manifestations that you just described that you might term, as a detective with the experience, signs of nervousness?
Yes, sir.
And would you explain what those were?
So almost immediately when we began talking to Mr. Bryant, his hands were almost uncontrollably shaking. His breathing was elevated, and you can see his chest rising and falling. And then while we were in the car on the way, while we were continuously having a dialogue, he kind of leaned his head up against the side of the car and attempted or tried to take a nap.
Okay. Judge, at this time, I ask for permission to publish State's Exhibit number 29.
Sure.